Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. If you are looking for a podcast about instructional strategies enhanced by technology, you came to the right place. In our conversations, we will talk with tech experts, share ideas and strategies to help you build your toolbox with tools that you can use in your class immediately.
Welcome to Innovation Squadcast, and thanks for making us part of your educational PD journey. First-time listeners, welcome, and for our returning listeners, welcome back. You are in for a special treat today because we are joined by Dr. Jacie Maslyk. She has been an educator for 27 years, serving as a classroom teacher, reading specialist, principal, and assistant superintendent. She has a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, master's degree in instructional technology from Robert Morris, and a doctorate from the Indiana University of Pennsylvania as well in curriculum and instruction. In addition to publishing several books, Jacie has published numerous articles on topics such as principal leadership, designing effective interventions, and leading STEAM and Maker in schools. And so we are so excited to have her on the podcast today. We'll get into asking her a bunch of questions and sharing her expertise. But before we get started, let's pause for this week's Tech Tip.
Today's quick tip is just to show you how you can hide the little pop-up on the bottom of a Canva link that you might be trying to open. So if I have a link that is directly from Canva, it might look like this, where it has this on the bottom, your little reactions, but there might be things on the very bottom you want to get to. So if I go ahead and click on the three dots on the bottom where it says more, you can click hide controls or just control plus the /. So I'm going to click hide controls. Then I can hover over anything on the bottom and that pop-up won't get in my way.
Hope everybody enjoyed that tech tip. I am Jimmy Kate.
I'm Pam Hubler.
And we are joined by, I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Jacie Maslyk. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So Pam kind of introduced us to you. She ran into you. So talk about how you guys kind of meet and got connected.
Yeah, I think you tell the story better, Jacie, just because of our connection. We went to ETC. It was years. I don't even know how long ago it was.
Maybe 5 years ago now?
I guess so, yes. Yeah, we went to FETC. And
I think it just speaks to the power of social media, right? And some people outside of education maybe look down on our social media use, but for me, it's been such a great connector. I was literally at a networking event and I saw Pam across a bar and I was like, I think I know her. I think we're friends on, we're connected on Twitter. And I walked over and I said, are you special techie?
Yep.
And so it was just this nice beginning of a friendship. And we've connected at conferences ever since. So it's been great.
Yes, it's been wonderful. I love it. And you have so many valuable resources and you've done so much since then. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast because then you can share all your knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to ask some questions, but feel free if there's anything else that you want to add, feel free. So the first thing, and because we always talk about wanting to know people's why. So what motivates you to do this work? Like, what's your why?
Well, I think it's kind of twofold now. Before we started, we were chatting a little bit about our children. So for me, part of my why for doing this particular work, and when I say that, I mean the infusion of creativity and hands-on learning and the ability for kids to either engage in STEAM or STEM maker kinds of learning. I think first and foremost was for myself. In one of my first books, I tell the story where, I wasn't the greatest math student. I didn't connect with my teachers. They didn't do things that were hands-on. And so for me, that learning was really challenging. Whereas put me in a science lab, I was in heaven. In fact, I even started out in college as a chemistry major thinking like this was what I just loved. And so that hands-on piece was really missing for me as a young learner. And now in turn, where I have kids who are one's in elementary and one's in middle school, it's sort of my mission now to make sure that it exists for them. And I think we've done a great job in education of bringing that in over the last at least 10 or so years and ensuring that kids have access to emerging technologies and cool hands-on tools and robotics and things that are artsy and musical. And I want to keep talking about that with educators because I want that for my own kids.
Mhm. I love that. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that our team, like, that's what we strive for. That's where innovative learning coordinators, because it's not just technology, it's just innovative practices in general. And sometimes you need that person in the classroom with you to kind of help you get
Yeah.
there and just give you ideas, have somebody to, just have those conversations with.
Yeah. And I hope I just had a question popped in my head. So like if you get any like pushback to that maker mindset, like
Mhm.
people that want to do like the, traditional, back to basics kind of mentality, like what's your response to that? I know we're going off script already, but something just popped in my head that I wanted to
No,
ask.
no, I think that's a really good question because let's face it, there's somebody like that in every building, in every school, everywhere.
Right.
Um, I often share this story. So, in a school district that I was working in, I was encouraging teachers to try some different tools. So we would kind of just push some tools out there, and if people latched onto them, great. We would provide some supports. I had some teachers, primary grade teachers, who were in the hallway working with some different robotics. I think they had like B-bots or dot and dash or whatever. And the kids were in the hall without a teacher. Like, oh my gosh, the kids are in the hall without a teacher. And they were doing all the robotics all on their own. And maybe they got a little bit loud because they were excited. Their code was working and the robots were moving. And I happened to come along and I was like, oh my gosh, guys, tell me what you're working on. And they're telling me all of this. And out from a classroom comes, one of those like Grinchy teachers who was like, what's going on? Why are these kids out here not supervising? And I said, oh, Miss So and so, let the kids tell you what they're working on. And when these 6 and 7-year-olds turned to her with such passion and were explaining what they were doing, you could almost see her deflate. Like,
Wow.
she was up in arms because it was out of character and, why were we in the hallway and who's making all this noise? Right. But when she heard from the kids, her guard was let down just a tad.
Mhm.
Um, and I think sometimes that's what it takes. You need to hear from the voice of your students. And when you see the passion and enthusiasm in the way that they talk about what they're doing, I don't know. How can you go against that? When a
Right.
kid is saying, like, this is awesome and it's good for me,
Yeah.
as educators and leaders, especially, I feel like it's our job to fuel that to
Mhm.
the nth degree.
Mhm.
Yeah, and kind of move, I did a lot of maker stuff in my room too. And when the students are asking for more time to come in during lunch, or can you stay after school? Can I work on this project? Not because of want, because or not because of need, but because of want, because they want to be there. They
Mhm.
want to be doing something. That's I think a powerful movement. And I think
Yeah.
Maker does that. So
And
Yeah,
it's
but
not
you know
about
what?
grade.
I think you maybe misspoke for a second and you said the word need.
right.
But think about that.
Yeah.
There are kids that need
You're
this.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
it's
Like
true.
I selfish plug. In my first book, Steam Makers, I tell a story about a kid named Leo. Um, I was an elementary principal at the time. He was a sixth grader. I had a K through 6 building, and he was not a great student. Like academically, he did not get good grades. He got in some trouble, had some behavior things that he was working on. And at lunchtime, any day that I didn't have a meeting, I would go sit in our makerspace and I would just be there, doing whatever. One year we had some girls who had like a little sewing circle. They'd come in and eat their lunch
Yeah.
and just chit chat and sew.
That's cool.
And Leo would come in and he would do woodworking. And he wouldn't really talk to anybody. Maybe he would ask, my opinion, or he'd ask for a tool or something that he needed. He would come in and really just focused in on the things that he wanted to build. And I had a teacher walk by, talk about those Grinchy teachers. I had a teacher walk by and said, don't you know he's failing my class? I said, okay. He should be in for recess doing, whatever subject, homework for my class.
Right.
I said, well, we're going to let him do this because this is what he needs right now.
Hmm.
And that for him really just allowed him to thrive where he wasn't thriving socially. He
Yeah.
wasn't thriving in the academic classroom, but that was a space where he got to be the best at something, right?
Yes.
Like nobody else was building the stuff that he was building. And it took a little while, I think, for both kids to maybe come around a little bit with
Yeah.
him, and also teachers to realize, you know what? if it's 30 minutes that he needs to kind of do his thing, and then maybe he's going to come back to the classroom a little more grounded or a little more focused or a little
Mhm.
more calm, uh,
Yeah.
why not? I mean, make that available to kids who need it for whatever reason, whether
Right.
it's want or need.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's tons of stories. I know we could probably go back and forth with
Yes.
that. Is because I was just thinking another one where a school just started a Lego club, and this particular student every morning cried as they got out of the car and this and that. Lego club starts, no more crying, jumping out of the car, running out because they're excited to be
Yeah.
able to be a part of something. So
Right.
I think that's the power of that, and I think we could probably have
Mhm.
hundreds of stories about and why it's so important. So
Yes, and I think
um,
the teachers listening too,
yeah.
that they could definitely think of those kids, and that actually goes into our if there is a teacher that doesn't know where or how to start, like, yes, I want to do this, but I don't know where to start because maybe they were just taught traditionally and they have no idea outside of seeing what it looks like in an active classroom. What would you suggest? Like, where could they start? Besides one, I think I have at least 3 of your books, but
Yeah.
yes, where would you tell them to
And
start?
we have links to all those stats
Yes.
into the show notes. So definitely check out the show notes for links to all the books and resources. So
Mhm.
go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of lean into design thinking, and I see you have a visual
Yes.
behind you
Yes.
around
Yeah.
that. If we get kids thinking about how to find problems and how to solve problems in unique ways,
Mhm.
I think that does a couple things. I think it starts building teamwork and collaboration that we want at all levels. And I don't think design thinking is just a upper elementary or a middle level kind of thing. Like 5-year-olds can do this too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
If
Yep.
we give them some parameters on, what it means to collaborate and start building those skills, um, I would suggest that teachers try some challenges, even if it's a simple design challenge where kids are working together to build something. Like you mentioned, maybe it's out of Legos. Maybe they're building a bridge. Just something simple, because I think it reveals a lot about kids when we do that. We get to see, again, those leaders step up who maybe aren't leaders in other areas. We get to listen in to see the kinds of things that kids are thinking about and talking about. And I think, again, there's real power in letting them create. So taking
Mhm.
something from maybe a sketch that they did on paper or just an idea that they had in their head and bringing that to fruition where it's like this physical thing that they built,
Yeah.
and that they accomplished with their teammates. I think that's powerful. And I think when teachers, again, when you see the end result of that, when teachers see how kids can successfully work together and meet the challenge or build to a certain criteria, I think that that allows the kids to really feel empowered that they've accomplished something great, and then the teachers begin to see that there is value in dare I say, stepping away from the curriculum for a moment
Right.
Mhm.
and doing something that builds teamwork and engages kids in thinking that maybe doesn't necessarily happen within the subject area that they're already teaching.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yes.
And, I know I saw your session this summer at ISTE, for remaking literacy. I'm excited about that one because I feel like that's something that literacy is a part of every subject,
Hmm.
every grade
Yep.
level, it doesn't matter. So I when I saw that presentation, it made me think this is something that all teachers can take something from. So can you tell us a little bit about the whole remaking literacy?
Yeah, and I tell this story often. I guess maybe it humbled me. When I wrote my first book, that's when I started speaking and going to conferences. And
Mhm.
after one of my presentations, which was just on STEAM and making, a teacher came over to me and said, "Oh, like that was great, but I teach reading, and so that doesn't really apply to me. But like,
Mhm.
thanks." And I tell people, like, it was like a dagger through my heart
Yeah.
because I'm a certified reading specialist, and here I was, sort of pushing out these folks who, to me, are the heart of what we do, right? I mean, not only are teachers of reading so critical in our work, but we're all teachers of reading, right? We're all doing read alouds or pulling text into our work if we're going to make it meaningful, right? Whether
Mhm.
that's science or social studies or even in math. And so from there, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm missing the boat here. I need to start connecting the work that we're doing in literacy with the hands-on mindset of STEAM, STEM, and making.
Yeah.
And so that's really how Remaking Literacy was created, around kind of two paths. One, teaching regular literacy instruction. So whether you're teaching comprehension, vocabulary, phonics, phonemic awareness, is there a way that you can do something that would engage students further with their hands, right? And so maybe that's building words with Legos, or using Play-Doh or yarn or some robotics tool even, to engage kids in deepening their understanding around word meaning or
Right.
comprehension.
Mhm.
But then also, I think the other great connection is all of these pieces of rich literature that we share in our classrooms, like, our favorite read alouds at holiday time. All of those things can be connected to hands-on engineering challenges.
Mhm.
And so kids can engage in listening or reading of a book while also doing something that allows them to be creative, work with a partner or a team, and use interesting materials.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. And you have one thing in that presentation, that character design challenge. I thought that was probably the easiest to just grab and go,
Mhm.
because you can use it for any book really, and it just has that, you can design at home, there's recreation, there's accessories, transportation tools, free choice. It's a great choice board. I think that's a super easy one to start for teachers.
Yeah. Yep. And then I would definitely say, teacher listening to this, you know, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. The leprechaun trap challenge is the
Mhm.
best. I think one of my favorite, maker space for making literacy, because there's so many different books out there about
Yes.
catching leprechauns. And so to
Mhm.
bring in that element and then allow your kids to be able to create their own leprechaun trap, the creativity. We do that with my daughter every year, and every year she comes up with something different and crazier about how she's going to catch the leprechaun. But just the amount of creativity, problem solving, collaboration, critical thinking that goes into it every time I've seen it done. So if you're a teacher out there and just want something that's an easy, quick, already made, reach out to especially your ILC team will help you do that, and make that leprechaun challenge happen. So
Yeah, and definitely connect with Jacie on
Yep.
social media, because I
Yes.
know she'll always respond. Jacie, did you have anything else that you just absolutely have to tell all teachers?
Well, I think sometimes we have a little bit of fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
And I think especially when it's something that could be as busy as a hands-on challenge, right? I mean, you have to be comfortable with a little more noise. You have to be comfortable with kids moving around and engaging, and there's some fear with that. I just say, uh, like you're sharing here, reach out to a coach or a colleague, and have a partner, have a
Yep.
teaching partner when you do this work. That, I think, will allow you to help with the management
Mhm.
component. And again, when you see the result and response from kids, I think teachers will be more willing to try it when they see how successful it can be. So I think it's fabulous that you all have that coaching support for all of your team.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what we love to do as ILCs. We
Yes.
love to be in the classroom and co-teaching and co-planning and doing all that stuff. So, that's definitely reach out to us and be a part of it. And you will definitely see your children light up in ways that you've never seen
Mhm.
up, and connect with those kids that, really need this more than anything else. And I think that's the power of the
Yeah.
maker mindset. So
It's a relationship builder
it
too.
is
Like, it's
100%.
it's crazy how much that can you learn about your kids too. You learn so much about them that you would have never known
Mhm.
otherwise.
Yep.
And I think relationships with adults, right? The responsible adults in the room, but also relationships with one another. Well,
Yep.
like when you're working on a team as a learner, you get to see the strengths in kids that maybe they don't get to show anywhere else. And so I think it allows kids to look at one another in a new light, which is also really important.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We
Yes.
definitely, learned so much from that. And if they want to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
You can find me on social media. I know you guys are going to put those in your
Mhm.
show notes.
Yes.
I will be at FETC coming up in January. So if anybody
Yay.
is headed
I'm going to
to,
be there too. So
oh,
we
awesome.
can connect that
We'll
way.
do a selfie.
Yes. Yeah, we'll connect.
Yeah, I'll be in Orlando doing a few sessions there on STEM and SEL, and then
Perfect.
one also connecting the topic we're talking about, which is STEM and literacy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll definitely be at those. So
Yeah, we'll bring those resources back and share with our
yes.
teachers too.
Yes.
So
So yeah, reminder to check the show notes for the resources, links to the podcast,
Mhm.
tech tip video, and then we also have Innovation Squadcast PD. So if you're in our district, again, you get a chance every 2 episodes you listen to, you get 1 hour of PD credit. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And we want to hear from you. If you got podcast topics, or if there's something that you wanted to go over on a podcast that we haven't gone over, or if you want to be on the podcast, if you want to share your expertise out there, please reach out to us. We would love to have you on. So,
Yes.
Dr. Maslyk, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you in January. For
Yeah.
everybody else, thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.